We are so excited to share the Life of And Academy with you. The cart is finally open and we are actively taking registrations. It is a 4-week digital course that is going to help you take your life from reactive chaos to intention and to peace. I promise you, my life is living proof of this. This is like me taking my little book of hacks and tips and processes and frameworks and giving them to you in as concise a clear way as I can. So I hope you will join us in the Life of And Academy so that we can help you pursue your exceptional, extraordinary, sustainable life of And. I hope you'll join us. Welcome to Scare Confident. I'm your host, Tiffany Souter.
I am having the best week. And I think because this week we hit some major milestones with some of the projects that we're working on and some of the new stuff that we're doing. And it's just like it's coming together. And that is very exciting to see work come together. But I think the other thing is I got to meet new people. I don't know. I think you have to like stay in the habit of that as a grown up because you can be surrounded by people you're familiar with a lot. And it has just been the best gift to my energy and to I'm just loving it. And one lunch in particular was with 2 other senior executives and like business. One is a business owner, one is a high-level senior executive. And I didn't know one of them. We had a mutual friend and she brought us together. And there were 2 things that happened. One is I was just reminded by just the generosity of sharing your relationships with other people is like such a gift. I'm just like so grateful to her for like introducing me to this other woman. And the other is this new woman that I met. She said, you know what? I am like in a season of I need fewer colleagues and I need more friends. And I think there's so much courage in just naming your stage and saying like, you know what? This is one of my priorities right now is friendships. And I am going to create the room, move some things aside so that I can have some time for friends. I need close friends and connection in a way that maybe different seasons didn't require it. So anyway, I just was given some life by those new relationships and reminded that I just like love to meet new people. It makes my brain grow and just love it. So, okay. So what are we actually talking about today? Not that, but it's top of mind for me and I have to get the thing that is in my brain first out of my face or I'm just mentally distracted the whole time. Okay. So this episode is a little bit hilarious. I'm a little self-conscious about it because I want to talk about just some things in my own journey of losing like 20 pounds over the last 3 years. People do not stop me on the sidewalk and ask me how I look so great. Literally nobody's asked me that ever. And so I'm super self-conscious that you may be like, you know what, Tiffany, we've actually never wondered. We don't need to listen to this podcast episode right now, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. And the reason I'm going to share it with you anyway is not because I think that I have it all figured out or that I am the end game. It is because I have learned so much in my own health journey and figuring out what works for me and my stage of life and my body and my own makeup, like naturally. I've learned so much from other people generously sharing what's worked for them. So that is really what this is. This is not me propping myself up as, the picture of perfection, because I'm certainly not. But I have learned some things that work for me. And I'm obsessed over this idea of sustainable. And I'm obsessed over just things being able to be the same actually takes a lot of energy. There's this thing called entropy. This is like a little bit nerdy, but I learned this from actually an economist. Entropy is that everything is naturally in a state of decay. So think about that. Like the wood siding on your house without protection is in a natural state of decay. The soil is in a natural state of decay if you don't put nutrients back into it. Our bodies are in a natural state of decay if we don't have forces that are overcoming that. Our relationships are in a natural state of decay if we don't put energy into maintaining them. And even things like words are naturally random. Like you can't just take 8 words out of the dictionary and have them accidentally form a sentence. It takes energy actually to put them into a sentence and to communicate and to be clear. And so I think that's so interesting. If you think about everything naturally is in a state of decay. It takes a positive force equal to or greater than that state of decay to like make it whole. And I think that's really interesting. And I don't even remember where I was going with that, but maybe just our bodies are in a natural state of decay. Our habits are in a natural state of decay. And so if we are not thoughtful about overcoming that with something positive, then we're going to just continue to devolve into the lowest common denominator. But that's not what we want. So over the last 3 years, I have quite gradually lost 20 pounds. There was never a season inside of that where I was in a like 12-week period of like major calorie restriction or 12 weeks of working out 5 times a week. And I think that we live in this like instant Instagram world, which that's not bad. There's a lot of good stuff that comes from that. But where it's like these before and after pictures of like, hey, 8 weeks later, 6 weeks later, 12 weeks later. And I just don't live in a life where that is a very accessible thing for me. I have to do very, very tiny increments of change over a long period of time and do it in a way that is really sustainable. And so this is like kind of just some of my hacks and some of my minimums and some of the things that I've done to just do it really slowly, gradually over time. I think if you have told me it took 3 years to lose 20 pounds, I think in a timeline like that, sometimes it can be like, well, why would you even start? It's going to take 3 years. But losing 20 pounds over 3 years is much cooler than gaining 20 pounds over 3 years. So there's that. I don't know. So I guess what I want to say is like progress does not have to be fast. It's still progress. These like tiny increments of choices and behaviors and disciplines over long periods of time make a really big difference. The other thing I'm really thoughtful about in my environment is I feel like I got such the lottery when it comes to this. My mom has such a healthy relationship with food. I never saw her diet. I never saw her like weigh her food. I never saw her restrict herself in any way. She was just always sensible. It was just like always this like very natural relationship with food. And I had no idea how somewhat uncommon that is. And so I really want to extend that into my own girls. I'm very aware that I have teenagers watching me, thinking about and aware of themselves. And I just want to create a household where we have a really healthy relationship with food, that lots of things can be in the house, that we can just have one, we can have half of one, like it just does not have power over us. And so I'm really thoughtful about my own vocabulary, my own habits, the things I do or don't do, because I know all of that is being radioed into my girls and they're watching me. And the way I talk about it, the way I engage with food, all of that is going to rub off on them. So I'm just like really thoughtful about that. And I think that's part of the reason I don't put myself into seasons of like significant calorie deficit or like really track my food. I kind of hate it. But also I think I have this like internal fear that I'm going to radio to them that that's what life has to look like with food. And it isn't. I want them to understand the portion size. I want them to understand the difference between protein and fat and carbohydrates and how your body metabolizes whole foods versus processed foods. Like all that is just good education. But I don't want them to like see me go through this like struggle with food. I want to have a really good relationship with it. So that's part of the reason why I would say slow and steady has won the race for me as well, is not just my own capacity and time, but also the things that I'm telegraphing into our household and particularly into our girls. So here's some things that I've done. If you've listened to the podcast at all, you know my obsessive minimum over my exercise is weightlifting 2 days a week for 1 hour. Like each one of those sessions is 1 hour. That is my minimum. That is like the minimum that happens every single week. I chose weightlifting because of my age, over 40, like bone density and just like posture and structure. And when I look at women who have been weight training, I'm like, I want to look like that. And it has just been it's like, feels really good to my body. I don't hurt at all. I feel like it's given me like a musculoskeletal strength that allows me to functionally move through my life really well. So that's why I chose weight training. It took me a little while to adjust to the reality of like not sweating like a crazy person like you do with like HIIT kind of workouts, and trusting that my body as it got stronger was actually going to like burn calories, like because I just so equated that with like running and HIIT and burpees. And it took a little while to kind of trust the process that I wasn't going to gain a bunch of weight by not doing a bunch of cardio. So my own journey with that, I had never really spent a lot of time in a weight room. I was not a student athlete. My husband and I did a little CrossFit in the past, but generally no. So that's kind of what like my workout minimum looks like. That is very simple. I do pay for a trainer, and I do that now really for accountability. It's just so easy to skip it. And there are seasons where I'm like, oh my word, like this is easy. This is what I do. I don't need to pay a trainer. And then there'll be like 2 or 3 weeks in a row where it is everything I can do to get to the gym. And I know me getting there is the difference in paying him or not. So that's my own trap that I set. I also share quite often that discipline and consistency is not natural to me. Like my brain will go into like, how do I resolve for this? How do I make something that's working a little bit harder? And how do I be extra about it? How do I do more? And I just like break things that are working. And that is a really crappy habit that I have. And so I look at things like this choice to work out with Zach twice a week. And I'm like, this is working. Don't break it. Just keep going. You don't have to reinvent this. So anyway, that is my workout minimum. That has been very clear for me to solve. And that's what I do. When it comes to food, I would say I am like a 9 confident on my workout minimum. I would say I'm probably more like a 6 or a 7 confident in my food minimum, but I'll share a few things that help me when things are kind of crazy, when we're eating out a little more than I would like, when JR's traveling. What can happen is I'm like eating breakfast in my car on the way to work. I'm eating lunch while I'm on a call. I'm eating dinner while I'm driving a kid to work, like, or to practice. It can be kind of hard to like register. Did I eat everything or did I eat nothing? And was it good for me or was it like out of my console in my car, which I have sometimes some extra candy treats for myself? Or did I just eat like candy orange slices all day? It can like be hard to register because I'm just like doing my life instead of paying attention to what I'm eating. So my food minimums, I would say, are continuing to evolve, but there's a few things that I've done that have been helpful that I'm going to offer up that might be helpful to you. The one is just like, it doesn't even have to be intermittent fasting, but picking a time that you're not going to eat after that. So after 7 or 7:30 or 8 o'clock, whatever the time is, that's a very easy thing to control because it's the absence of behavior. You actually don't need to do anything. That can help just take those junk calories out of your life that you know are just like, I'm eating because I'm tired. I'm eating because I don't want to put the kids to bed. I'm eating because who doesn't love chips after 9 p.m. or a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Yo, yes. But you never feel good after that. And I find, especially as you get older, you feel worse. So picking a time, that's a very easy thing to do, to be like, I'm just not going to eat after 7 or 8 p.m., whatever it is. So that's one easy minimum that is literally more about the absence of behavior than adding anything. There's no food prep with that. There's nothing to do. Set a reminder on your phone, have it recur every single day, and just be like, hey, you made a choice to stop eating after this time. Love yourself by doing the thing. So that's one easy tip. The second is a 3-bite rule. So when I'm in seasons of like wanting to kind of watch what I'm eating, I do bad whenever I just can't have something. I do bad if I tell myself I can't have sugar. I do bad if I tell myself I'm not eating French fries. I do bad if I tell myself I'm not, like if I say I can't have something in my head, it's like I become obsessed over it. It's so stupid. And so I kind of have this like internal 3-bite rule, like 3 bites of a cookie, 3 bites of dessert, 3 licks of an ice cream cone, 3 French fries, 3 bites of a cheese, whatever the thing, like 3 bites. That is usually the maximum amount in my mind, like the greatest amount of satiation. Like that first lick of an ice cream cone, you're like, oh, that was like a 40 on a 10 scale. Like that was so delicious. It was cold. It was sweet. But by the time you're at like a spoonful 18, 19, 20, 22, you're not really tasting it anymore. You're just like eating the rest of it. And so I'll internally just be like, I had 3 bites. I had 3 French fries. I had a third of a cheeseburger, whatever the thing is. That is a way for me to tell myself, yes, you can have this totally. But I kind of have a marker where it kind of like tells me, like reminds me, you don't have to finish it. Like you've probably had most of the satiation and the satisfaction and the experience of having dessert or the experience of having an ice cream cone. You don't need to go all the way to the end. So sometimes I eat the whole thing. But when I'm trying to be thoughtful or I'm in a season of wanting to kind of like just be more thoughtful about my calories, that will be something that I do. So I can still share the experience with my kids. I can still eat everything we're having for dinner. I can still participate in an event, but I'm being thoughtful about like where my finish line is instead of the portion that somebody else picked for me. So that's something that has helped me just have 3 bites. And that's like most of the enjoyment I have found in those 3 bites. And then this is like very obvious, but I'll say it just as a reminder, just eat real food instead of the processed version. So it's like, if I'm going for something salty, I will, instead of crackers, I'll pick nuts. Instead of Cheez-Its, pick a cheese stick. Instead of French fries, have a baked potato. Like just reminding myself, just eat real food. My body will naturally crave less of that than when I go for fast, easy stuff. And so I just trust the process that I'm going to get to satiation. I'm going to get to fullness faster when I eat real food than when I eat processed things. So those are like very easy. If I need to eat on the run or go into a convenience store and get something, how do I eat pistachios instead of crackers? Again, I want to get to the place where I'm literally can eat everything in moderation. That is my objective, not to have a world where I feel like I can't have something, but that kind of helps me. So don't eat after a certain time. That's one. The second is the 3-bite rule, or however many bites you want to be. But I found 3 is like, the first, the middle, and the last one. I don't know. It kind of works for me. And then the last one is just to be conscious of eating real food. So I know in an ideal world, we would all have all the time we want to like plan our meals and to make sure it has perfect macros and to like measure it out and to do all the things. But when you can't do that, what do you do instead? Well, what you do instead, hopefully, is not just go get fast food and eat goldfish off of the floor of your SUV. What do you do instead of what your goal is? And that is really what minimums are about. It's establishing what is the floor of behavior that I will allow for myself, and how do you make those choices in a season of things are going well so that you can reference and lean on those when things are not. Because when you're stressed and you're tired and everything is going poorly, which I had one of those weeks not too long ago, literally everything went wrong. JR was gone and I saw the trash guy came at like somehow 6:30 in the morning, and we had so much trash. I think I'd missed it the week before. So I go like running out of the house in my slippers, trying to catch the trash man. Like, what was I going to do? Jump on the back? I have no idea what I was going to do, even if I caught it. But I was like, this compulsory thing came out over me. And I started running out of the house in my slippers. And I tripped on our back steps like I had been shot out of a cannon on the side of our house. And I was like, like falling forward. And I slammed somehow into the side of our house. And I like get this huge bruise on the side of my arm. I was so mad. I was mad at the trash guy for being there so early. I was mad at myself for not remembering to put it out the night before. I was so mad at my slipper for like catching on the little like metal thing. Like, I don't forget what it's called, but as you're going outside, I was just like so mad. And then I was late for everything. And then I was on my way home from an event late at night, and it was foggy, and I hit a really big pothole, and somehow a thing came loose and my brakes went out. Like, it was like everything was going wrong. Everything was wrong. And I was so behind, and I felt like life was burying me alive. On those weeks, how do you eat? Because those weeks still count towards your diet, towards your health, towards your life. And so what do you do on weeks like that when it's like literally everything is like hilariously falling apart? That is what this concept of minimums and like deciding what you're going to do. So when I am in crazy seasons like that, this is what I do. I say, okay, I'm not going to eat after 8. I'm going to have the 3-bite rule. If there's a DiGiorno pizza, God bless DiGiorno pizza, I might have a couple bites. It doesn't mean I have to eat 3 slices. So it gives me something to say yes to. And I've already decided the container that I'm going to say yes to. And then when I can, choose healthy food instead of eating something processed. So again, easy, apples, grapes, whatever it is. So okay, you probably already knew all these things. And I'm going to say one more thing about that crazy week where everything went wrong. Sometimes when everything is going wrong, it is a sign that something needs to change. There's a system or a process that needs to be updated so that your operating system can operate really smoothly. Sometimes you just have a bad week because you just have a bad week. When I was going through that week, I asked myself several times through it, are things breaking because something's wrong, or are things breaking just because sometimes things break? And decidedly, I came back to like, well, one, I added to our house manager's list of things to put our trash out on Thursday so that when Jared's traveling, I don't have to remember it's Friday. So I did update a process, which I know is a luxury, but I did update something. But other than that, I was like, you know what? It's just a bad week. Just things broke. Generally speaking, the way that we're running things are working. It's just a bad week. So sometimes you just hit a snag and, things come together in a way that are just like not so lovely. And you just have to laugh it off and be like, whew, it's like you're outrunning a tidal wave, but just sometimes it happens. And even if you decide not to live a life of and, you're going to have a bad week. So you might as well have a bad week inside the life of and, right? This is what we're doing. Okay. That's what we're talking about this week. How to make sure that you are doing your best for yourself as it relates to your nutrition and the time that you're making for yourself for movement. Guys, this is not an optional part of life. It is like built in. This has to happen. If you are serious about your energy, if you're serious about your family, if you're serious about being available for your life, you got to do this stuff. And figure out what works for you. That's the secret. And I know you're probably well on your way and like way ahead of me in all of this, but I thought I would just share what I've learned, what I'm doing, this thing called life. My mom called me yesterday and I said, Mom, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is your actual life. This is our actual life. How amazing. And I hope that you're loving yours. So, okay. Thank you for listening this week. Thank you for going on this journey of living a life of and bringing our best selves to our life for our people, for ourselves, for the people and the things that we're committed to. I mean, what a great gift this life is. So thanks for listening. I hope you're crushing your week.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Scared Confident. Until next time, keep telling fear, you will not decide what happens in my life. I will.